Hey friends, Beijing is furious again because at this year's APEC, Japan's Prime Minister Takaichi just did the unthinkable. She met with Taiwan's representative. Yes, an open, public, perfectly normal meeting between two economies. But in Beijing's fantasy world, that is apparently a crime. The Chinese Foreign Ministry is now screaming about serious violations, One China principle, and grave consequences, all because Tokyo dared to talk to someone China doesn't approve of. I mean, imagine being so insecure that you think you can decide who another country is allowed to meet. So here's what happened. At the APEC summit in South Korea a few days ago, Takaichi sat down with Lin Xinyi, Taiwan's official representative. They talked about trade, cooperation, and regional security. Basically the usual APEC stuff, nothing dramatic. Except to Beijing, where normal diplomacy means national humiliation. Takaichi even posted a photo of the meeting on X, referring to Lin by his actual title, Senior Advisor to the Presidential Office of Taiwan. And that one little word, presidential, sent Beijing into cardiac arrest. Within hours, the Chinese Foreign Ministry was issuing protests, summoning Japan's ambassador, and demanding Tokyo correct its mistake. Because apparently Japan's Prime Minister needs Beijing's permission to tweet. Now let's be clear. China's meltdown wasn't about protocol. It was about control. Beijing had spent decades trying to suffocate Taiwan's international presence, bullying foreign governments, hijacking international organizations. APEC is one of the few spaces where Taiwan is still allowed to show up. So when Japan, a G7 democracy, treats Taiwan like a normal participant, Beijing freaks out, like a jealous ex who just saw you on a date. The official statement from China is that Japan seriously violated the One China principle. Translation? We thought Japan would always play along with our delusions. But here's the thing. Takaichi doesn't take orders from CCP. And the world is finally realizing that Beijing's One China obsession isn't about peace. It's about policing everyone's behavior. Let's be clear. Takaichi didn't just stumble into this meeting by accident. This was deliberate, calculated, strategic. Because she is not your typical cautious Japanese politician. She made it crystal clear that Taiwan's security is Japan's security. Now that might sound like a diplomatic slogan, but in Asia's current geopolitical reality, it is more like a national survival plan for Japan. Think about the geography. Okinawa, Japan's southernmost island chain, sits barely 600 kilometers from Taiwan. If China ever invaded Taiwan, Japan would instantly be in a line of fire. Chinese missiles flying over Japanese territory wouldn't be a possibility. It would be a guarantee. So when Takaichi says Taiwan's fate and Japan's fate are intertwined, she's not being, poetic. She's being brutally realistic. Because the day Taiwan falls, Japan's entire maritime defense line collapses like dominoes. Beijing would suddenly control the sea lanes that feed Japan's energy imports, the trade routes, and national lifeline. And that's why China is desperately trying to get Taiwan. But here's the irony. The more China threatens Taiwan, the more it pushes Japan closer to Taiwan and to the US and its democratic allies. China is bullying every country in East Asia and is literally building the alliance it fears the most. And Takaichi understands that. She's one of the few Japanese leaders bold enough to say it out loud that pretending Taiwan's problem is not Japan's business isn't diplomacy. It's emboldening a spoiled bully to continue its aggressive behavior. That is why her meeting with Taiwan's APEC envoy wasn't symbolic. It was a statement. Japan won't let China decide who it can talk to or how it defends its future. And Beijing hates that because for decades it has successfully used intimidation to make other countries tiptoe around Taiwan. But now, Japan's prime minister just, smashed that unfair and unspoken rule in public at an international summit and then posted online for everyone to see. You could almost hear the Chinese Foreign Ministry reloading their copy-paste outrage statements. Serious violation, gross interference, sullen protest, yada yada yada. The usual diplomatic platitudes from China. And let's be honest, China can't afford to lose Japan right now. Its economy is tanking. Its trade with Japan is shrinking. And the rest of Asia is quietly hedging against China too. Foreign capital is fleeing. So watching Beijing try to lecture Japan on diplomacy is like, a bankrupt man scolding his neighbor for buying lunch. Now, how about Taiwan's reaction? Pure class. Lin Xingyi said it was very normal for Taiwan to meet other APEC participants. No drama, no gloating, just calm, confident diplomacy. Exactly what rattles Beijing the most. Because you know what? Taiwan didn't even need to provoke China. Its very existence as a functioning democracy is the ultimate provocation. Now, here's the bigger picture. Beijing has tried to isolate Taiwan for decades. But the more aggressive it gets, the more countries quietly move closer to Taipei. You can ban Taiwanese flags, you can censor Taiwan's names, or protest meetings all you want, but you can't erase the fact that Taiwan's democracy is winning the hearts and respect. Japan and the US and much of Asia do not see Taiwan as a troublemaker, but as a partner. It's a reliable, modern partner, and brave enough to stand up to a giant bully. Meanwhile, China's wolf warriors keep just biting everyone and then wondering why nobody wants to sit with them at lunch. So, yes, China can throw another diplomatic tantrum. It can summon ambassadors, scream about serious violations, and pretend that a simple tweet can, shake up the world order. But the truth is simple. Every time a leader meets Taiwan, every time a democracy says, we will talk to whoever we want, China just loses a little more of its imaginary control. APEC didn't just show who is powerful, it showed who is insecure. And Beijing just reminded the world, the only thing more fragile than China's collapsing economy is its ego.